Good,
Thomas,
good.
Ian, Nicholas, always great to see you. Thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So you're going to be coming to Chicago this weekend for the 30th anniversary of Rookie of the Year. We got some big events taking place at Wrigley Field. Your band's also going to be playing. Do you feel like an honorary Chicagoan at this point?
Yeah, I just want my 2016 World Series ring, Mr. Ricketts. That's about the only thing that would solidify my Chicago status. But yes, I do have a very special connection with Chicago for sure.
You also are getting your own bobblehead as part of this promotion. I mean, have you seen like the prototype of what it looks like? I mean, this is pretty cool. That's big. That's big time right there.
I know, right? Again, not to harp on it, but I don't have a 2016 World Series ring, but now there's going to be 10,000 little versions of me. Yeah, I've held the bobblehead in my hand. I did some promo shots out there in April, which you'll be seeing those videos roll out this week. You saw the first one where we, myself and some of the players were throwing it back from the stands. I don't even think I made it to second base. So I definitely won't be on ESPN battling with my doppelganger in Boston.
I'm going to post a photo when I post the video, but you were able to carry one of the Cubs championship rings. You brought it with you one time, and we got a photo with you. So I want to make sure that like
it's
this
a
time
replica.
in Chicago, at least you get to put it on. At least you get to have one of those moments again.
It's a replica of a Chris Bryant ring, but it's the closest thing I have.
Okay, first of all, how was this 30 years that the movie first came out? Like, I can close my eyes and I can still see myself going with my parents to the movie theaters to go ahead and see it. And then here we are all this time later. I mean, it's a movie, especially in the Chicagoland area, that people watched over and over as kids. Once they had kids, they showed it to their kids. But before families traveled to Wrigley Field for a game, they watched it. I mean, it has become such a Chicago-centric, such a baseball movie that has just like lived on in no other way that I can possibly think of.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool thing that I just was at the Iowa Cubs stadium, Principal Park, I believe it's called, in Des Moines, and meeting like the kids of, my peers, people that grew up with the film, and their kids are loving it. And that's kind of a pretty amazing feat in today's technology and world, that it can still hold their attention of the next generation. So it's pretty cool that, people are still enjoying something that I created, that I was a part of from 30 years ago. And I'm very excited for this weekend. There is a lot of stuff that is happening. I would probably make your head spin if I told you the 8 events that I'm doing in just a mere 3 days.
Hopefully you get your rest before you come to Chicago, because we are going to make sure that we party with you as much as possible.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I'm starting out the weekend by doing a concert with Eugene Levy, the band, in Muscatine, Iowa on the 30th. And then yeah, I'm playing in Bolingbrook at Tailgaters with a bunch of local Chicago bands, Radar, Burning Lights, Guardrail. And then I'm doing an after party at Emo Night Brooklyn at the House of Blues. Up bright and early, meeting with the D23 members on Sunday morning before the game for their private tour of Wrigley Field. And that's obviously the presenting, Disney D23 members. They're getting some special commemorative gifts on top of the bobblehead. So you don't even have to be a member to get that ticket if you want that tour and those commemorative gifts, which I'm bringing and signing, and doing a surprise meet and greet. Shh, don't tell them. And then I'll be at the game throwing out the first pitch, doing another meet and greet at Obvious Shirts Warehouse after the game, introducing the movie at Gallagher Way, and then doing another emo social event at Sluggers afterwards.
If this weekend doesn't show anything, we just need to get a place here in Chicago. I mean, we want to keep you. If this weekend shows you anything, you got to stay here.
It's true. It's true. We've always kind of talked about having a place there, and obviously, my kids love when they get to go. I wish my kids were getting to come for this, but my schedule is just too crazy. I would pretty much just be waving hi to my kids.
At this point, talk a little bit about filming the movie here, as far as the prep. Were you a big baseball fan beforehand? Were you a big Cubs fan beforehand? Or did this movie turn you into a lifelong Cubs fan and a lifelong, lover of Chicago because of the filming the movie?
I definitely have a special place in my heart with the, for the Cubs because of the film. I didn't really play sports until about 2 weeks before the movie. I mean, the occasional like throwing catch or, kicking a soccer ball around, kickball with my friends, sure. But I was never on a team. I wasn't one of those sports kids per se. So yeah, when I first got the movie, I went out for 2 weeks and learned the mechanics of pitching because I was like, oh, I'm playing a baseball, a little leaguer and a pitcher in this movie. So I've got to learn this new skill set, which is what I do for my work as an actor. And so it didn't, I mean, I tried like playing a season of baseball after that, but here's an example of how much my heart was more in acting than it was into sports, though I still have a special place in my heart for the Cubs. I joined the baseball team of the seventh graders right after I had done, was done shooting in Chicago. And there was a rule that if you missed practice, you rode the next game on the bench. I missed almost every practice because I was going to auditions. So I rode the bench on, for the entire season because my priority was, acting and not baseball.
As far as you filming the movie here, what do you remember as far as like your days off and things you did and people you met and locations? Like if you close your eyes and think back to 30 years ago when you were filming the movie, what is that memory of you filming the movie here in Chicago?
Man, my memory is, about being there in Chicago. Obviously, when I was on set, I was working, 54, I think, out of 55 shooting days. And then there wasn't a lot of time to hang out with everyone when I wasn't filming because I was doing school on set as well. But I remember it all really well. I remember having a great time. I remember being on Wrigley Field for an entire month. I remember that we had to pretend like it was summertime, even though it was October and it wasn't. I think most of all, my favorite story to this day is my first time stepping on the mound at Wrigley Field, which was that first doubleheader on September 19th between the Cardinals and the Cubs, where we hadn't even started filming the movie yet, but we had this 10-minute window to get this 360-degree steady cam shot of Henry walking to the mound for the first time. And doing that walk from the bullpen to the mound and 35,000 Cubs fans chanting Henry will forever be in one of my core memories of Chicago and filming the movie.
That is amazing. That like story just like warms my heart because I was just like, I could just feel the energy because anytime, any Cubs game, we always are just like, so, everyone is so like happy to be there. And it's just like, I can only imagine what, younger version of you filming that scene was actually like.
Yeah, it was quite a moment to experience that, to say the least.
I have a couple of friends who, when they broke an arm or broke their collarbone or had some kind of injury, that this was a movie that they watched over and over again, because you had to get the VHS, you had to go to Blockbuster, you really couldn't do that much of anything, but everyone always dreamed of what superpower they may have after the cast came off. Do you get stories like that? Like, was it just like my group of friends, or do people come up to you at like Comic-Cons and tell you things like that?
Sometimes. Well, first of all, here's an important question for you, Rudy. Were you a rewinder? Did you rewind your Blockbuster tapes before you returned them?
Yes, I did. I didn't want to spend the $1.75 to pay to pay that fee. I made sure to rewind them.
But yeah, I've heard some stories about, even like family, like distant cousins that watched the movie, even maybe 20 years ago that wanted to break their arm, after they watched the movie. And I've talked to people that, had an injury and thought, oh, I wonder if I'll have, a superpower afterwards. And so it's definitely kind of delved into that realm a little bit. Fortunately, nothing crazy, and I haven't heard any stories of it actually happening. So maybe that's still yet to come. I don't know.
Yeah, or it's only a special gift just for Henry. Henry, that's the only gift for him. And then the final thing here before we go, the new TV show you're working on. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's called Underdeveloped. It'll be coming out later this year on a streaming platform. I can't say too much yet about the date and the and which platforms. We're still sorting that out. But the show itself is a comedy. It's a mockumentary, similar to The Office, but we all work in a production office. And I'm executive producer on the show, one of the three executive producers, along with my business partners, Brian A. Metcalf and Kelly Arjun. And so we all play characters on the show. And our boss is Tom Arnold, and his boss is Mark Pellegrino, and David Keckner is the boss of the other studio. So we've got David Henry in there, Sam Levine, Shelley Regner. The cast is absolutely incredible. In fact, my son plays Tom Arnold's son. So I actually have some great moments in episode 2 with my son. It was a lot of fun to work with him in that capacity.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, as always. Can't wait to see you in Chicago. There's so many events going on, so make sure you catch them at one of the things either taking place at one of our music venues at Wrigley Field, catching the movie. He's got some meet and greets at Tin Band on Instagram. Go ahead and follow him for all the updates. And we'll see you in Chicago.
Right on. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me again.